Hello. What's up, guys? This is Andrew C. Bailey.
And Jacqueline T. Burnson.
We're streaming from two different places on Jackie's account, on my account, with two different devices. This is crazy. Welcome to the 5-Star Love Show.
Yes.
Where we talk about how do you create a relationship that is hot, that is sizzling, that actually lasts, and you enjoy being in.
And it's basically a relationship that tops everyone else's relationships that you know, because a 5-star relationship is the highest quality relationship that you can have on this planet.
What's the difference between a 5-star and just a, like a 4 or below?
Well,
in your opinion?
In my opinion, the difference is freedom. The difference between the rest of the relationships and a 5-star relationships is freedom and consciousness and being independent of each other, but still being together. So what happens is that in the 5-star relationship, I'm not like, Andy has to do this, and he has to do this, and he has to do this, and if he doesn't do it, then I'm angry. There's none of that going on. I just love watching him be his wonderful self.
Dude, how is that a relationship? that sounds like bondage to me. Listen, We're talking about confidence tonight. We're talking about what is confidence, how to get it, and why it's mandatory for you to have confidence to attract a 5-star relationship and create it with your partner and sustain it. So you don't fizzle out in divorce and bad things don't happen to you. Okay?
Welcome, Tanya.
Listen, guys, the state of relationships in America and probably around the world are absolutely atrocious. They're at the lowest point they've ever been. People are in more fear than they've ever been in their relationship. People are fighting. They're in conflict. But even worse, like people are just roommates. They started out hot, and now they're like living in separate rooms. They don't even touch each other. They have no connection, and they're just accepting less and settling for what they could have.
And bickering and, getting angry and all sorts of things that doesn't happen for us.
So in your opinion, you've been coaching for 7 years. You came on board with me in 2010 when I met you. Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, what is confidence?
All right, so there's two kinds of confidence. There is skill confidence and self-confidence.
Self-confidence and skill confidence. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it.
So let's talk about the easy one first. Let's talk about skill confidence. So skill confidence is when you've learned a skill, like karate or cooking or playing the piano or football, and you've really practiced that skill and you've gotten good at it and you feel confident going out and being able to produce a quality product in that area. Like you feel like you're a great cook, or you can really do well out on the football fields, whatever it is. And so that has to do with your level of skill. Like when your skill goes up, your confidence goes up. When you're and so that's what skill confidence is. And there are 8 skills that you have to have if you want to have, hey Jim, if you want to have a really great 5-star relationship, there are 8 skills. So skill confidence is definitely important, but it's not the mandatory one that we're talking about.
Well, you can be an NBA player. You can be literally an elite player, and you can have all the skill confidence that got you there, but you can't maintain your emotional state.
Yeah,
you can't stay confident. When you're shooting a free throw, you hear the crowd saying, you suck, and you buy into that, and then you're missing free throws and you're doing poorly. Yep. You lost your confidence.
So that's losing self-confidence. So self-confidence is the one that we're actually talking about tonight. It's the one that is critical and actually mandatory if you want to be able to attract that 5-star partner into your life. And also it's mandatory if you want to keep it hot and keep it at 5-star for a lifetime. So why is it mandatory? Maybe we should tell them what it is first.
Right. So what is what? What is confidence?
What is self-confidence?
Well, self-confidence is the inner belief that you're the shit, that you're unbelievably worthy in this lifetime of everything that you can think of creating on this planet. Mm-hmm. And people along their journey, there's an old Navajo Indian story. Or it's an Indian story. I don't know if it's Navajo, but it's cool. It's like a spiral of life. And at this point, imagine that this is when you came into birth and you're following this spiral, and then you're starting to pick up self-limiting beliefs along the way from people, from experiences that you're having, and you start getting bogged down with these limiting beliefs and stories that aren't you. They're not you. Like, I'm not good enough, or somebody calls you a loser, or you get bullied or whatever, and you pick up these beliefs. You start thinking that this is who I am. I'm not good enough. I'm just a lonely, assistant, and I can't go any higher than that. So why even try? And so what you need to do to get your confidence up is you need to get rid of all those self-limiting beliefs, improve your psychology, and then what happens to you? What's left when all that BS is gone?
Well, what self-confidence really is, what confidence really is lack of fear.
Yes.
So when you have lack of fear, then you feel confident and you trust. And specifically with self-confidence, there's actually no such thing as self-confidence. You can't be confident in yourself because there's a duality there of the one doing to the other, the one doing confidence to the other.
You split
being
yourself
confident
in
the
two.
other.
You're laying down some spiritual stuff right now. Some people are going to be like, I don't know what you just said.
That's okay. So what self-confidence really is it's actually a lack of fear, which is what allows you. So then that means self-confidence is actually your ability to be your authentic, vulnerable self without any fear. The only way you can be your true, authentic self, which is really what confidence, when you come up to somebody who you label them as confident, you're like, what they're doing there is they're just being them. And they have no apology for it. And they're not afraid. They have no fear, and they're just being themselves. And it's super magnetic. Like people like that, you're like, like you gravitate toward them. You can't help but be attracted to them, either sexually or even just like as a friend, somebody you want to be around.
Right.
And that's because they don't have fear anymore about showing who they truly are, and so they can just be themselves, like Andrew and I can. And we don't care what anybody thinks about us. We're not afraid of anybody saying anything.
Dude, but I spent so much of my life, too much of my life, most of my life, I'm 34 now, I probably spent most of my life afraid of what other people think.
Me too.
Afraid of getting, outs by the tribe I'm a part of, friends, family.
Somebody saying something damaging.
Somebody saying something damaging. So then I'm going to put on a social mask and water myself down to try to get you to like me. But what makes me not like you or be drawn to you is that you put on that mask. If I don't want to interact with a mask, I want to interact with your real, authentic self. And that's when all the limiting beliefs are gone, and you start owning yourself. Okay, you start projecting.
Yeah.
You start projecting who you really truly are.
And you know that you need to work in this area if when I say fully authentic and 100% vulnerable, you go, oh, I can't do that, or that freaks me out, or what if somebody says something and attacks me or uses something against me? Okay, if any of that is going on, I'm going to be opened up for somebody to do something or take information. Okay, if there's any of that going on, then you know you have some stuff going on up here that needs to be fixed. So here's why.
But hold on. Some people think, oh my gosh, I don't even want to confront that stuff. That's scary to me because I don't want to be told that I got to go to a psychiatrist or a therapist or a counselor. Dude, it's not that serious. I've worked with hundreds of people throughout the last decade. It's not that serious. It seems serious because it's so negative.
Because it feels like really intensely emotional.
Yeah, you're like believing a thought like, oh, what if I get rejected by that lovely girl over there? Oh my Lord, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, and this is what you do if you get rejected. She says, no, thank you. I don't want to give you my number. You go, okay, cool. And you
rather than
and you go to the next one.
Rather than what most men or even women do is take it personally. Take it personally as it meant that you were inferior, that you were less in some way, that you were unlovable. Dude, it could have been your approach was off. Okay, let's say you're a lady and you see a really handsome guy in Starbucks and you're committed to finding your soulmate forever, like somebody who's actually compatible with you, wants to be with you, all that stuff. And you decide, I'm not waiting for a man to approach me. So you approach him. And you have to just decide, here, let's just make it like this. You have to decide to be confident. One day, I was so sick and tired, I don't even think I finished my thread there. I was so sick and tired of being a shy guy, of calling myself an introvert, of saying I'm afraid of people. I was buying into a belief system that was given to me by society. I picked it up from somewhere, maybe it was a movie, and I decided to drop that stuff and decide that I was worthy, decided that I was good enough, decided that I had value. And so in 2007, I went campaigning for my soulmate, and I approached 3,000 people. And then I found Jackie in 2010, but I was committed. I think this is going to help them with how to develop confidence is in whatever you're trying to develop confidence in, hopefully it's just like shining self-confidence. You got to just decide that I'm committed. So if you're going to find the relationship of your dreams, you got to decide, I'm not willing to settle, and I'm committed and willing to do whatever it takes for however long it takes until it takes. And when you commit to something, it's weird. Like you're scared before you commit. You're in indecision. And then once you decide, you're in a new vibrational frequency. It's like you tuned into a different channel on a television.
Yeah.
And you're suddenly, I feel a little bit more confident because I've made my decision in what I'm going to do.
So making a decision is critical. And then also, I have a similar story to Andrew. I used to be like petrified of people. I had so much social anxiety. I'd put on a face. I'd be like, who do I have to be to get people to like me? Who do I have to be so that they don't respond negative to me?
Listen to that question. Okay. Who do I have to be?
Yeah. So I was never myself. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I almost didn't even know who I was because I never allowed myself to be vulnerable. I never allowed myself to be authentic. And so the friends I would make, the men I would date, they weren't the right match. And that's why if you have to be confident, you have to be vulnerable, and you have to be 100% authentic. Because otherwise you're wearing a mask. And the other person isn't attracted to you. They don't even know you. They're attracted to the mask. And so you can't keep that mask up forever. And eventually it's going to come down, and all of the stuff you've been trying to hide and all the fear and all the insecurity that's making you put up the mask in the first place is going to come out. And they're going to be like, whoa, you aren't the person that I thought I was dating.
Now, unfortunately, what's happening is people are starting off with the masks on, and then they go exclusive in 2 weeks. So it's two masks dating each other.
Yeah.
And then they continue going on, not really communicating on a deep level. I hope this person stays with me.
Just trying to keep the other person
After
to
a
like
while,
them.
what happens is both of them were insecure to start. So they start controlling each other, start getting really jealous, and then it ends up in, like resentment and blowing up in conflict and all this stuff. And it's a disaster.
Yeah. So in order for you to be able to attract the right partner, to attract a 5-star quality partner where you can actually have that level of relationship with them. You can't have a 5-star relationship with everybody. You can only have a 5-star relationship with somebody who is lifelong compatible. And that means you want the same vision for your life's journey. You want to take the same journey together. If you're like wanting to go different directions, you're not going to fit. And so if you don't really show up as your true self and show up as your vulnerable, authentic self, then they won't be able to recognize you.
Yeah.
Your partner won't be able to know that you're the one because they won't see the real you, they'll see the mask, and they won't be able to identify you.
And how long are you going to keep up that mask?
It's exhausting.
How long can you keep it up? Okay, eventually you'll take it down, and eventually she'll take it down or he'll take it down, and then what do you got there? Oh, I don't know this person. They don't know me. Right? So I recommend starting off confident, and that is vulnerable.
Yeah.
You have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing. Like, listen, when I campaigned for Jackie, for an incredible woman, I didn't want relationship failure anymore, okay? Because I was in relationship after relationship, and it just didn't work out. So I had to decide, you know what? Hey, Alexis, and hey, Keith, I had to decide, I got to do things different, man. I got to do things different. And I got to decide, I got to be committed. We talked about commitment. I got to start trusting myself. I got to trust that I'm good enough. I got to trust that I can develop these skills.
Yeah.
I have to trust, hey, what's up, Sean? I have to trust that if I get rejected,
you'll survive.
I'll survive. I won't actually die, even though the survival mechanisms in the mind, the ego, says that I'm going to die, I'm going to perish. And the ego does anything to get you from not dying. So when you go up to do something new, like approach a potential love interest, whether that's on Match.com, OkCupid, Tinder, or in person at a social event, your brain goes crazy and starts coming up with these automated excuses about why you shouldn't do that. Now, people get confused. They don't know that these excuses are not them. They're just the mind trying to keep you in the comfort zone.
They're basically the autopilot survival mechanism. You've
Yes.
somehow linked danger to being your true self. Somewhere along the line, your brain wired up that being authentic meant there's something dangerous going to be happening. So when you try to go and get into those situations, now your like fight or flight mechanism gets triggered because your
Yes.
brain has this action of going and opening and talking to people and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable as dangerous. And so then, just like if there was a lion in the room, your brain starts freaking out. So you get like all these chemicals going through your body, your heart starts racing. I can't do it. I can't do it. And your brain like literally tries to talk you out of it because it thinks it's dangerous. It thinks something
Correct.
bad will happen. So here's what you got to do. Whatever scary thing your imagination is creating that is keeping you from being your true, authentic, vulnerable self, instead of avoiding it, instead of running from it, instead of trying not to think about it, you need to go to it. And you need to go into it. So if it's rejection, that you go up and you're talking to somebody, or you go on a couple dates and then they reject you, that's a very common one. If it's rejection that's keeping you from going out there and really being your true self, then instead of running away from it, now you want to actually think about it. Okay, so what if I do get rejected? This was something I had too, because when I broke up with my first long-term boyfriend, I was single for a while and was doing the whole boo-hoo, like, no one's gonna love me ever again, and was like super sad. And so in order to get myself to go looking for Andrew, I had to make a commitment to do whatever it takes. And I decided that no matter how many times I get rejected, no matter how many times I get my heart broken, no matter what happens to me, no matter if I get a stalker, no matter if I get raped, no matter if like I get taken advantage of, no matter what happens, I don't care. I'll get over it because this is more important.
Yeah, when people start dating, they get freaked out. They get freaked out because number one, they don't have skills, so the dates aren't that quality. But if something happens, like they were into somebody and then that person sent them a text message that was
Jennifer.
like a letdown. Like, we had a great time Friday night, but I'm just not interested at this point, or I'm seeing somebody else. Then that other person takes that personally, and I've had guys where I used to have this program called the Man Reinvention Program, and I used to take guys out into bars and clubs and social events and push them to approach women. Okay, they were freaking out, man.
Yeah, they
were freaking out, and their mind used every excuse in the book not to do it.
Yeah.
Not to do it. That was a good time. One time, so to get over rejection, so you can't take things personally is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't want to take things personally. Like
you
that
need to embrace it.
Just because you got the letdown text in this example doesn't mean that you should give up.
So you actually should rejoice. Like you need to actually embrace the rejection. You need to embrace somebody not liking you. And here's why. Because when you're out there dating for your soulmate, you want to be going through people like this. You want to be getting people who are incompatible with you out the door, like as soon as possible. And so if that person recognizes that you're not a great match and tells you and says, I don't want to continue dating you, or I'm not interested in giving you my number because I don't feel like we're compatible, you want to say, okay, awesome, thank you for letting me know that we're incompatible. Now I don't have to waste my time with you and I can go to find somebody else who is. And really you take it as a blessing that they're being honest with you and that they're saving you both time, which time is the only thing you can't buy. It's your life. They're saving you portion of your life that you would have wasted trying to pursue somebody who's a bad match.
So it was a very good blessing.
Yeah.
This is how you develop some more confidence. You have to work.
Yes.
You have to commit to the most important investment in your entire life, and that's an investment in improving yourself, improving your psychology, improving your emotions, figuring out who you really are, which beyond like these bundle of thoughts, which can be an identity. Like if a couple people bullied you when you were a kid and called you a loser, now that's a bundle of thoughts. It's like experiences and beliefs that go into there, and you consciousness starts believing that it's that thing. It gets confused, and you live your entire life as a loser. So you got to see that as an illusion. Usually we work with people through tools and processes to release that. And it does not take years of therapy. It does not take years of psychiatry to do it. You can change somebody literally. Well, you actually just change in an instant always. But it doesn't take a long time.
And you're actually not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Really, everybody's a soul. So like you're a light bulb, let's say. You're a soul and you're shining your light. And what happens, like Andrew said, as you go through life, you pick things up. So like your light bulb gets mud on it. And your light gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer the more mud you have caked on you. There's nothing actually wrong with you. Your light's still shining in there, but it's just like covered up in gunk that you collected from your life. And so all we have to do is remove all that gunk, and the beautiful you is already there. Like there's nothing wrong with you.
Right. It's like the sky is always blue, even when it's on a cloudy day.
It's just behind the clouds.
And when the clouds part, when you get rid of the self-limiting beliefs and figure out who you truly are, then the big blue sky opens to you, and it just becomes heaven. Life should be fun. You should be having a good time here. You shouldn't be suffering on a daily basis, living in negativity. Let me talk about negativity and confidence right now. There's a lot of you and a lot of my clients who come to me, and I look for who they're hanging out with. Okay, do you have a negative mother, a negative father, negative brothers, negative sisters?
Negative friends.
Negative friends. Oh, this is a big one these
coworkers.
days. Are you consuming negative content? Like on Netflix, if you look at all the movies and TV shows, they're very violent. Well,
and negative.
And the newspaper.
And lots of drama.
So if you, don't try, Sean, just do. Make a decision not to try anymore. Sean says, I'm trying, and I appreciate the comment, but do not try. Just get rid of the negativity because it sucks you down, man. I use the crab metaphor. You guys ever heard that? If you lived in a tribe of crabs in a pot all your life, well, you're used to living there. You're comfortable. They're comfortable. It's the same thing, but it's a little negative. Like people say a lot of negative stuff. They watch a lot of negative news, and they read the newspaper, and they look, and their worldview becomes life is a shit show. Life is dangerous. The world is a bad place. And there's many evidence that you can get to prove that the world is a bad place. And you can literally develop that belief system if you want. But when you decide, when you reach code red, when you reach emotional threshold, when you've had enough, and you actually value your life here, then you decide, I'm going to get out of this crab pot. And what happens?
You leave the rest behind.
You try to get out, though, and then they try to pull you back down because they don't want you leaving. They feel like they're going to lose your love.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't want you changing into a different person. They have an identity for you. They want you to stay the same.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, you have to value yourself and your life enough to crawl out of that pot.
Yeah.
And it's going to be scary, and your mind is going to come up with a million excuses why you can't.
So sometimes you're leaving people behind, and sometimes you're minimizing people if they're family. And then other times you're leaving like negative activities that you've been doing behind. For example, when I met Andrew, he didn't watch the news, and I will always watch the news. Like I grew up having the news on all the time. And Andrew said, that's really negative, and it makes you feel bad. And it just programs your head with death and all sorts of negative stories. And it's like supposed to make you afraid. And I didn't know that at all. And I was like, what? That's crazy. The news? No, you got to stay informed. You need to be informed. And then, but I was a scientist. I was a biologist. So for me, I just don't like throw something out the window and make a judgment or an assumption and like cut something off. For me, I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm gonna test it out. So I did an experiment, and for a week, I stopped watching the news in the morning, and I just like got ready for work, and I didn't watch any news at all. And after that week, I was like, whoa, I actually feel a lot better. And then I just never started watching it again. And so by removing that negative content from my life, basically what you're doing is like you're pumping your brain full of negative thoughts and negative information. And for me, when I was young, I watched a lot of like CSI and a lot of crime shows and cops and that kind of stuff.
And you thought that was completely normal because that's
Yeah.
that's what all the other crabs were doing.
And I didn't know, and it was, those shows were actually, they made me deathly afraid of being murdered, and they made me obsessive compulsive of thinking about being murdered, because I was like watching shows like every day about people being murdered, and so like I couldn't get being murdered off my mind for years.
So you weren't
And it was the shows, it wasn't me.
you weren't confident. You were living in fear of what might happen.
Yeah.
And how much
I
of
used
that
to live
stuff?
in a lot of fear.
How much does that stuff actually came to fruition?
None of it.
Okay.
So Sean wants an explanation. So I'm trying. The explanation for the I'm trying thing is Master Yoda. You know, there is no try, there is only do. So
When you say I'm trying, it means you're in indecision. You're like, oh, I'll try. But that's not, no, I'm doing it. With absolute certainty, and it's going to happen, and I'm committed, and I'm taking action right now. I'm not waiting. There's a difference.
there's no doubt anymore once you decide to do something. There's no, oh, it might happen, or it might not happen, or if certain circumstances come together. And this is with anything. This isn't just relationship. This is with any goal, anything in your life that you make a true decision to do. It's that no matter what the hell I have to do, no matter what gets in my way, I'm going to conquer it. I'm going to find a way to conquer it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that goal because I want to. And I'm making the decision not to quit because it's really important to me. And so, like, for Tony Robbins uses this example. He says, you can't try to pick up a chair. You're either picking up the chair or not picking up the chair. Like, there's no trying to do something. You're either doing it or not doing it.
Right.
And if you're doing it some of the time and then going back and forth and dabbling at it, then you're not doing it because there's really no commitment there. If there's dabbling going on, like doing it, making a little bit of progress, but then I quit sometimes and then I'll go back to it a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no commitment there.
Hey, Mike Mello, welcome to the call. Haven't met you yet. Looking forward to talking to you maybe someday. Listen, if you want confidence, we're talking about confidence. We're talking about how to get it and why it's mandatory for a 5-star relationship.
Yeah, we got a few minutes left, so if you have any questions, put them in now.
If you want confidence, we've talked about a lot of things. We talked about the decision to get what you want in life, and it can't be I'm trying. Okay? It's got to be I'm deciding because, like, listen, your life goes from birth to death. Like, you want this much of your life, let's say this is birth, and you want this much of your life to be where you're in a crappy relationship with hardly any love, and you oscillate between love and extreme fits of hate and dysfunction. No, man, you want that whole journey to be a sweet ride.
Yay.
It's like eating the best piece of, I don't know, whatever you love.
Whatever is something
a tasty
tasty.
piece of candy, maybe.
Yeah.
That's
Or a
organic,
peach.
organic.
Ooh, Kelly.
Awesome explanation of deciding. We decided to explain deciding, and that was it.
Awesome. Yeah. So for me, when I decided to meet Andrew, automatically my confidence went up, and I was like, well, I don't care how many people reject me. I don't care how many bad dates I have, because I don't want to live my life alone. Like, I want to share my experience here with somebody that matters to me. And I made a true decision that that is the kind of life that I want to live on this planet. I only have one life as me. So I need to make a real decision about how do I want to live that life, not just like let everything else around me make the decisions for me about what kind of life I'm going to live. I wanted to go out and get it.
Exactly.
And to do that, you have to make a real decision and keep at it and never quit until you get there.
I'm going to lay down one else thing that's coming to mind, and then Tanya will answer whatever you got there in the lovely comments. This is it. You're the creator of your own reality. If you believe like stuff's just happening to you, you're confused. And this is good news. You create your own reality. If you want to change your life right now, you could do it. Okay, your brain, your ego will go, if you try to change your life, try to do something, change in a different direction, go in a different direction, your mind's going to go crazy, your ego's going to go crazy. It's going to try to keep you in this little container that you've been in for so long. Mm-hmm. But you can decide at any moment, including right now, to do infinite things. Yeah. There's infinite possibilities. And I've had even, people like Kelly on this call do infinite possibilities. It's an exercise. Get a sheet of paper. After this call, immediately, I dare you. Double dogging daring everybody. Triple
Double dogging daring.
I'm upping it to triple. To write down 100 things that you could do in this moment.
Like right now. 100 things you could go do right now.
100. And you'll prove to yourself that you've been limiting yourself, number one, and that you are the creator of your reality. That you could do an infinite amount of things that you're not doing. But you're staying in your comfort zone because it's gotten too comfortable, guys. I did it forever, man. I did it for way too long in my journey. And it's because I was scared. I was living in fear. I had no confidence. And one day I just had to decide in 2007, I'm going to change my life. 3 years later, I found this lovely woman. 7 years later, we're in the best relationship. Never heard anybody having this level of love and relationship, and it improves every day.
Honestly, I didn't actually know this was possible. Like, I had never had an example of this kind of relationship in my life, and I didn't even know what we have today was an option for me. I didn't know it could be this good, is what I'm telling you.
Right. All right, let's go to questions.
All right, so first.
Dude, how do you do the questions?
We have
okay,
to scroll.
you just scroll.
Tanya.
Tanya, what's up? I stopped watching TV 10 years ago, except every once in a while when someone else has it on. Ours is upstairs out of the way. TV news is depressing. Usually even my kids stop. Self-confidence radiates, and it does attract others. Yeah. You gotta ask, why is the news, why are newspapers and the news so negative? Why are they telling you about killings? Why are they telling you about win the lottery all the time? Dude, they're trying to keep you down. They're trying to keep you down. Who's trying to keep you down? Do some research, man. Trying to keep you scared because it benefits some people at the top to keep you in fear. Okay.
Yeah.
Angie. Is that how you say your name? Angie? I love that spelling, man.
Awesome.
That's killer.
Decide like suicide, genocide, homicide. Side means to kill off other possibilities. Exactly. So when I made a decision to go after Andrew, I was cutting off every other possibility. For me, there was only one option now, and that was to find my soulmate. That was the only option now open to me. There was no, getting into a relationship that failed. There was no being alone and being single and dying alone. Like, that was now no longer an option. You literally cut out any other possibility.
You raised your standards.
Yep.
That day, with one decision, you raised your standards.
Yep, exactly.
Sean, what's up, man? How about this? He says, I have a lot of up and down emotions. It's normal, but hard to figure myself out. I'm not grounded with someone selfish to worry about. I know I'm an idiot. Up and down normal. Right there. You just have an identity of, and just take this as my opinion, is you have an identity of being stupid, being an idiot. Sean, you don't know your value, man. Mm-hmm. You're not stupid. You're not an idiot. Dude, you're an incredible man. You just need to regain, like Angie says, your personal power. You need to take the reins of life back. Yep. Because your journey's going like this. Your journey's going like this, and you want to make it delicious and good.
So here's the thing, Sean. If your emotions and your thoughts in your life aren't going the way that you want it to, it's because you don't know how to control this vessel that you were given. Okay?
Well, hold on. Give everybody the number one thing right there that they need. The number one thing is you haven't been given the user manual on this thing.
Yeah, so you're not the body. You're the life force energy, the soul, the consciousness inhabiting the body, Sean. Okay? And if you're having negative emotions and thoughts, those are of the body. They're not soul. They're not consciousness. They're part of your physical form. And if your body isn't functioning the way that you want it to, emotionally, and your brain isn't functioning the way you want it to, that means that you don't know how to control this machine, this robot that you're in.
Exactly.
Okay? So you need to read the user's manual. And no one is given a user's manual. And it took Andrew and I years to figure it out. I used to be somebody who was suicidally depressed for much of my young life. So I had to learn what's going on with me. And it wasn't that something I was broken. It was that I didn't know how to use my body, and it was out of control. And I had picked up programming in the computer of my mind from when I was young that was making me extremely unhappy. And my robot was running the show. And exactly. I was hardly there.
You've got a question, go and ask it. Don't hesitate. Have confidence. Ask a question. Yeah, Angie, everybody's got to get their personal power. How do you do that? Well, you go through a process called human metamorphosis. Everybody starts out as a caterpillar. Oh, cute.
But caterpillars can't go very far.
Dude, they're limited to leaves.
Super limited.
And they're slow. But they're beautiful. I won't say that. But you get tired of being a caterpillar. Now, what does a caterpillar do? When he's like, I'm a little bit stronger than this. I have a little more personal power than this. I know that my soul wants to expand, the soul of who I am. So I go into a chrysalis, and I spend some time in there. This is training, by the way, and I get skilled up, and I get self-confidence, and I get skill confidence.
And I learn how to control my emotions, and I learn how to control my thoughts.
And then right before I pop out, the most dysfunction goes on. And then boom! I sprout these wings, and I'm flying through space. That's what we do with clients, guys.
Yep.
I want to see you flying as a butterfly and not staying trapped as a caterpillar your entire life, because that's settling. That's a low standard. You can do better than that, and I can do better. Dude, we can all improve. It's a never-ending journey.
And that's actually the process Andrew and I had to go through, because we were both very unhappy and dysfunctional people a whole nother lifetime ago, it feels like.
Dude,
you know?
Angie's going crazy with the
I know,
hearts.
I love it.
I've seen hearts, I've seen lights, I've seen
It's
ahs.
awesome.
What is that emoticon called? Surprise? So, what do you guys got to write down your biggest takeaway from this class when we push the finish button, so that you can integrate what you've learned here. Maybe you had an insight. Maybe you just got a little bit inspired. This is the 5-Star Love Show. It's a brand new show we're doing.
Yep.
I've been a love coach for my entire, tutor, love tutor, 5-Star love tutor. Or it was just recently elite, and now we just said,
changed
you know what,
it.
I'm switching that to 5-Star love tutor.
We can change it if
And
we
human
want.
metamorphosis coach, and I've helped hundreds of clients, hundreds of people reclaim their personal power, get incredible relationships, and live their passion. And I'm telling you that you can do it. But
Anybody
you've
can
got
do
to
it.
decide today to have confidence. You got to start making some decisions and going in a new direction,
Yeah.
because you're worth it. Your life is valuable. Angie, laugh out loud. I'm self-expressed. Thanks, guys. I love that. Dude, take your, whatever level your self-expressed is right now, let's say it's a 3, Angie. It's good, right? It's a 3. You've raised it lately. Now, what do you have to do to take that to a 10? That's your question I have for you. What do you have to do to take yourself to a level 10
Yeah.
and make this life a level 10?
So let's wrap up. Confidence is lack of fear. Lack of fear to be your true, authentic, vulnerable self.
Yes.
And when you're there, then that's when you're going to attract that perfect partner for you, because that's when they'll be able to see you and recognize you.
Yes. If you guys want help from us, you want to get some coaching to accelerate the time it takes you to maybe get an incredible relationship like we have, or regain your personal power,
Or
just
maybe-
PM us on Facebook,
Yeah.
or hit the message button, I think it is, because it is your time to level up in life.
Yes.
All right, guys. Love you. I'm Andrew C. Bailey.
I love you, Jacqueline T. Burnson.
Bye.